Welcome to the Employee to Boss podcast, a podcast for everyone with an entrepreneurial spirit. Every week, I am joined by successful guests in all different industries and stages of business who will share what their experience was like transitioning from employee to boss. This is a resource for you if you're wanting to start a business, go all in on your side hustle, get to the next level, or just hear what it's like taking the leap to becoming your own boss. I'm your host, Haley Hayhurst, the owner of Espresso Podcast Production, a full-service podcast production agency specializing in editing, marketing, and strategy. Let's dive into today's topic. Hey, Gina, thank you so much for joining me on the Employee to Boss podcast. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
I am so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, we have the craziest connection. We are both living in West Seattle. You recently moved, sold your condo to a friend of mine, which is so funny that we never met when we lived over here, but the internet is just an amazing place where we make random connections that just mean so much.
Sure. For sure.
And we're here to talk about your journey from employee to boss. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do with Athena Executive Services?
Yeah, sure. So we are part of the virtual assistant world, which I founded this company 9.5 years ago, well before the pandemic. But it was one of those businesses that the pandemic just threw gas on the fire because we've always had a team of people that work from home all over the country. And we paired them with swamped and successful business people. And I founded it with the notion that a lot of business people need some kind of admin support, but a lot of people need it at a high level. They want a high caliber executive assistant, like somebody has on the 40th floor of the downtown high rise. But they don't need a 40-hour-a-week resource. They just need that high level support for maybe 10 hours a week, 15 hours a week. And somebody who can think with them and have a high level of business acumen. And so that's what we provide at Athena Executive Services.
Okay, very cool. Tell us about your journey from employee to boss. How did you get to starting this agency, and what did you do before?
Yeah. Well, gosh, it's like, how far back do you go, right? Like, and on the one hand, everything I ever did in a way feels like, okay, it led to this, because there was when should I leave corporate America in my early 30s? I was like, I want to be my own boss, and that'll be freedom, and I'll be in control of my future. And,
Yep.
I chuckle because those of us, right, we all just can see the humor in that. But it starts there. It at least starts with the dream called, wait, hold on, why do I only get 2 weeks of vacation a year? And why can't I just go home when I want to go home? And so I was working for IBM actually in my early 30s. It was a great corporate background to have for me at the time. And I was at work on like, wait, I really do want to be my own boss. And in 2006, I left corporate America. And I had so many different business plans, none of which panned out, right? I was going to open a martini lounge. I was going to be a business coach. I was a business coach for a while. And then I would have all these part-time jobs on the side to help pay the bills. And then somebody found me who was a really great hospitality consultant, and I became her business partner for a while. Looking back on it, it all seems very random. But then I found myself in the middle of a divorce. And I was scared financially. I won't go into all the details, but I was just scared financially. And I said, you know what? I have got to stop this being an entrepreneur thing, because I can't have my ability to pay the bills be contingent upon whether or not I sign another contract. I just need a job. I need to show up somewhere. I need to do some work. I need somebody to put money in my bank account, and I need to go home. And it better be kind of simple, like not too complicated, because I didn't have any more mental, emotional bandwidth at the time. So I knew somebody and saw her on Facebook, but I knew her, and she was looking for an executive assistant. And I was like, okay, I can do that. So I became this CEO's executive assistant, and went to the office every day and managed the office and managed her calendar, and went home, and money showed up in my bank account, and life was good. But then she sold the office. So we all worked from home. And this has got to be, I don't know, 2011, 2012, somewhere in there. So there I am working from home, and I'm an executive assistant, and I loved it. I was like, this is great. I'll throw in some loads of laundry in between some
Yeah.
stuff and fold, put away some dishes and like keep my apartment looking nice. And so it was good. And then after a few years, she didn't need that anymore. My father was passing away. I knew he was going to pass. So I went to California and I spent the last 6 weeks of his life with him. And then I went back home at the time was Seattle, went back home to Seattle and mourned and just had quiet time for a few months. And then I started looking for another CEO to go support and rustled the bushes, asked my friends, hey, who needs who needs an executive assistant who's willing to work from home? And a friend of mine said, our CEO could really use you. And I ended up working for him. And a few months later, she said she was his head of HR. And she said, just for your planning, I am going to need you also. And I said, that's nice, but I don't have any more bandwidth. I am not interested. Thank you. And she said, well, that's okay. Just find me somebody like you. And she said, you should consider opening this as a business. And I was like, no. I have been an entrepreneur before. We are not going to do that again. And she said, okay, well, just find me somebody like you. So we had a lot of kind of common connections, she and I. So we put our heads together and we thought of this woman named Dorian. And we said, all right, let's talk to Dorian and see if she wants to be your executive assistant. I will coach Dorian in being great. But you, Tiffany, have to be a good client because she probably hasn't been an EA before, but we knew she had the skill set. And she was down in LA. So we get Dorian on board, and Dorian says, sure, I'll be Tiffany's EA. So I'm coaching Dorian. We're both working for two different people in the same company. We're both executive assistants working from home. All is well. Until Tiffany comes back to me again, and she's like, hey, the guys in sales are spending way too much time on admin work. By the way, you should open this as a business and find me somebody else. And I said, I don't want to. And she said, get over yourself. Go open this business.
I love her. That's so funny.
You would love her. She also lives in Seattle, at least part of the year. So that was April or spring of 2016. And I went and found Allison. And in May of 2016, I went and I took $5,000 and I put it, because where you live, that bank branch doesn't exist anymore, but I went up Admiral in California, and there was a Wells Fargo there, and I put $5,000 in a business bank account and opened Athena Executive Services. And over time, there were just three of us, and we just would work for that client, and then I found other clients, and then I found other quote-unquote people like me, as Tiffany would say, or people that wanted a part-time, high-quality job from home, and I would coach them. And a few years later, I worked myself out of that job. I turned over my client to one of my now staff members, and I started actually building a business and transitioned from, Robert Kiyosaki wrote a good book years ago called Cash Flow Quadrant, and moved from what you might call being self-employed to being an actual business owner. And that was 9.5 years ago. So we're almost 10.
That's incredible.
And last year, I guess the last thing I'll say is last year we joined what I call the second comma club. So we cleared that little bank account with $5,000 in it, cleared $1 million last year.
Wow.
So
congratulations.
Yeah, thanks everybody for listening to such a long origin story. But it's a crazy world.
Yeah. I mean, wow. I love that you were resistant to it so much. And then Tiffany, was that her name? Just kept pushing you. And look at where you are now. I mean, how many employees do you have now?
So our team is it fluctuates, but at any given day, it's around 20.
Okay,
I'd say at a peak, like our roster, the largest our roster got to was maybe close to 30. I don't think we've ever been over 30 people on our team yet.
Very cool. Wow. That is a big team. Only like 2% of women-owned businesses make $1 million. Yeah. Isn't that so upsetting?
It is. And I was very, very present to that fact as we were getting close to it. And I really was like, A, I want to be another name on that list.
Yep.
And B, right, pull how many ever other people up the ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Yeah. It's a goal I have for my business too.
Good.
5%,
You'll get
but
there.
yes, I hope so. Well, I want to hear about, as a business owner, I'm still I'm trying to get out of so much of the day-to-day of my business, right? But there are still admin tasks that I do. And I know that's true for a lot of other business owners that I know, where we're kind of at the point where we could kind of take a step away, hand off more to employees, whatever it is. But there's that control problem,
You
There's
don't
that
say.
control, right? So I want to hear about how you work through that with your clients.
Yeah. Well, we boy. So we now have a client care manager that will offer, coaching if people want it. But to talk about it in general, like when I say I go speak about it, the control, it just really depends upon what is most important to you. When you look at where you and anybody listening to this podcast, if you all look at where you want to be a year from now, how important is that to you? And is that more important than you being the one making sure you do your social media posts or you booking your travel or what have you? So delegation, I believe, is solely an investment in your future. If you like how life is right now, keep it. Do what you're doing. Don't change a darn thing. But if you are like, no, a year from now, I do not want to be the one sending the invoices. That was one of the moments of truth for me, was
Mm,
like, I was like, oh, I can work from anywhere. I got a company. This is awesome. And I was on a trip to Maui with friends. And I'm like, no problem. I knew invoicing day was coming up. Not a problem. I can invoice from anywhere. How fabulous. And it really is fabulous. So I don't mean to
yeah,
downplay
right.
that, because in the beginning, that is really great freedom. And that's awesome. But there was a day in Maui, and I was sitting on the lanai looking out at the ocean, and I'm sending invoices. And my friends are snorkeling. And I'm like, this is it, Gina Cotner. This is the end of this. You are not going to Maui again sending bloody invoices. And I was on a podcast a couple years ago with Hannah Smolinski, and her story's even better. She was in the Swiss Alps at some awesome dinner, and she leaves the dinner to go run payroll. And it's like, da! So there's just moments where I was like, that, Gina, how much would it really cost you to have somebody else send invoices?
Mm,
And that's kind of where it started. Like, okay, just turn over one process, one little process. Now that also forces you to clean up that process. That's the other thing. I mean, there's control, but truthfully, everything I've ever turned over, every process, every project, it has forced me to be like, well, so my executive assistant, her name's Corrine, and Corrine sent our invoices. She was my solution back then.
okay.
But I was like, if Corrine has to go into Dropbox and see the mess that I have
Corinne will
created,
scream.
like, no, she couldn't do it. So it forces you to go into your own quote unquote filing cabinets, wherever they may be, and get your stuff organized in a way that some other human being could actually operate.
Yeah.
Although if you hire a good EA, a lot of times they are very happy to wade into your mess and
Hmm.
go, okay, that is a mess, but we don't need to waste your time cleaning it up. I'll go clean it up.
Yeah.
But regardless, you get your processes cleaned up, and then you just start by turning it over one little thing at a time. But what about the control? So back to the control. Is there going to be a mistake with an invoice? Maybe. But it's the beginning of a future where Gina Cotner is no longer sending invoices. Now I've got to be a good trainer. I've got to train Corrine in how to send invoices. And is it going to be 100% perfect? I don't know, but I'm going to give it my best shot. And the more I practice delegating to her and the more she sends invoices, the better and better we're going to be. And I bet in 3 months from now, I'm going to be done with it.
Right.
So it's always an investment in who you're going to get to be a month from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now. And if you don't start, you're never going to be that person that is out from under your invoicing, your travel planning, your social media, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a really great way to put it. I know someone here in Seattle who has a roofing company. And so I was asking him questions. And he was like, I started doing it, right? Like I was on the roof doing things. And now if I'm on the roof doing things, it's a bad day. That means a lot has gone wrong if I'm the one actually doing whatever it is that they do on the roofs. I don't know,
Exactly.
but
It is so true.
yeah,
That really is true. Yeah. Yep. So it's an investment in your
yeah,
future. And you, as a delegator, will get better also. The delegatee, the person who's doing the work, they're going to get better at that work, but you're
yeah.
also going to get better at your role.
Yeah. And I'm curious for the listeners to kind of see that vision if they're at the point where they want to start delegating. I think a question that I hear a lot is like, okay, I don't have to do that anymore, but now what will I do? Right.
Yeah.
So once you started delegating invoices, I'm sure social media, I'm sure a lot of things that you started delegating. What did your role then become?
Yeah. Well, now you are freed up to do anything you want to do in the company. Now, I
Yeah.
don't know one business owner that doesn't have 100 things they want to do that they say they don't have time to do. So it's an interesting paradox. We say, oh, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. Now, once you make yourself time for that, now what are you going to do? Or
Hmm.
sometimes people are like, well, I can't afford to hire a VA. Okay, well, if you delegate the $30 an hour work or the $50 an hour work and you go back to doing your $250 an hour work, it sorts itself out.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. It gives you time to be the visionary and
Yeah. And then who knows what you're going to do? Maybe you're going to go network twice as much. Maybe you're going to go sell twice as much.
yeah.
Maybe you're going to simply be home in time for dinner.
Yeah.
Maybe you're going to actually just be a better human at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not going to work 60 hours a week. Maybe you're only going to work 50 hours a week.
Totally.
Maybe you're going to go to your kid's soccer game on a Friday afternoon. I
Mhm.
don't know. All of that all sounds good.
Yeah. You know, another thing that I hear from people wanting to delegate is the concern of giving feedback. Especially as you mentioned, like sometimes our processes are a mess and gross and need fixing, right?
Yeah.
So, I know a lot of like a few people in my world that have said this to me of like especially because they're outsourcing their podcast to me, right? So that is like one area of outsourcing. They're like, I worry it's going to create me more work of like having to go back and listen and like do all these things. And I'm like, that is just not true. And when they finally do start, they take that leap of actually outsourcing. They're like, yeah, this is great, amazing. But I know that's a concern for a lot of people.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of people.
Yeah. And I am a believer that you get what you inspect, not always what you expect.
Hmm.
Now, that's not to be resigned, like, oh, you can't expect anything from anybody. No, but you do need to inspect, I think, in the beginning. Now, once somebody hires you, they inspect once or twice, they're like, oh man, she knows everything. I'm done.
Yeah.
Right? Like that. But it's the same thing with my EA or other people on my staff now. There's now managers that run my company.
Hmm.
And I still go inspect their work a little bit here and there because I'm looking to see, is the ship getting off track? So the more you delegate, the more you have everybody else doing the work of the company, now you're in the business of ensuring things are going well, ensuring your brand is still present, ensuring the culture is the way you want it to be, ensuring the work is getting done. Like the roofer, right? You're not going to go
Yeah.
do the roofing, but you need to ensure, how are you ensuring that that roof got done according to the standards that you promised your clients? But you're now in a whole new challenge of ensuring things are happening
Yeah.
the way
Yeah.
that you wanted them to.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. And the part of correcting as you go or ensuring everything is
Yeah.
going well, I think a lot of people have issues with
Yeah.
that or
Yeah.
fears around it.
Totally. And here's the thing. You could look up all kinds of stuff. How do you graciously give feedback? right? I mean, I
I'm
have
sure
a
there's a
feeling
podcast about it.
everybody, I'm sure, has gone to Chat GPT with a conversation that they are very nervous to have or an email they're nervous to send, right? And you'll get lots of good explanations. If you don't course correct as a leader, it's like you're a ship and the ship is leaving Seattle and it's headed toward Tokyo. And if it's off by 10 degrees, it is going to end up in Singapore. It is not going to end up in Tokyo. But that's on us as leaders to then go course correct. I guess my tips I would give people about giving feedback is you're giving feedback about the performance, the action, the what was done. The human being is fine. 9 times out of 10, the human being is fine. So I always include all of my course correction includes appreciation somewhere, even if it's just to start with, thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, it's a little bit off course, Haley. So let me just show you where it's a little off course. This is where it's off course. And then could you go do X? And again, if you practice, you'll get better at it. And I will say, if you do it all the time, if you're always saying, that was awesome, or this needs some course correction, and you do it all the time, it becomes normal. It gets normalized. It becomes something not to be feared in your organization. It's not weird. It's not, well, why is she calling me out? No, she just is a boss who either says, hey, that's on track, or it's not on track.
Totally.
If you are afraid, I understand the reticence, but it is, again, for us as leaders and bosses, you got to practice. You've got to practice being able to give feedback.
Yeah.
And so that it's in the culture as normal. This is nobody's being thrown under the bus. Nobody got called out at work today. Everybody's fine.
Yeah. To that point, I'm curious if you can share the employee to boss mindset, right? There is truly an employee mindset and there's a boss mindset. And earlier in this episode, when you were talking about being so resistant to starting your own business and you were okay with training, but what was the point where you shift from the employee mindset to the boss mindset?
Yeah. And I guess my angle is when it had, there's the shift from being an employee to being an owner.
Yeah.
And so there's that. There was a time I went to some workshop and they handed out all these hats, or like a weekend workshop for women business owners. And they handed out all these hats that said CEO. And I was like, whoa, I'm not a CEO.
Yeah.
But she talked to us all as if we were CEOs. And I was like, well, why not? Like, why am I not? Maybe I am. So I think that was definitely a turning point, probably 3 years in, when I was like, oh, I am. Now, granted, I'm the everything. I'm the president. I'm the CEO. I'm the head of HR. I'm a lot of things. But there was something about starting to relate to myself as a CEO that was kind of exciting and kind of daunting and felt a little bit highfalutin. But like I grew into it. And it is, it's very, very, very much who I am today. I think when you're an employee, in fact, every now and then if I run into a kerfuffle with my managers, every now and then I might say, why are they acting like an employee? And I'll get like grouchy. And what that means to me is it's like somebody who's maybe just punching their time, like that isn't going to just figure, like when you're a boss or you're the CEO or you're the owner, we're just going to figure it out. I don't know. There is no manual for my job. We have never been here before. Whatever issue, we were dealing with a pretty big issue this week. Okay, we've never dealt with this exact issue. We've dealt with similar issues. Yeah. But we are going to figure it out.
Totally.
And an employee mentality sometimes, and gosh, I hate to say this because I mean, I've been an employee, you've been an employee, we've been great employees.
Yeah.
But sometimes an employee mentality can be like, well, what do we do now, boss?
Yeah.
And both my managers know I am just going to kill them if they interact with me that way. I'm like, I do not pay you almost 6 figures a year to leech off my brain.
Yeah.
I'm hiring you for your brain. I need
Totally.
you to bring your brain to my brain and we collaborate and figure out things together.
That's so
Not,
funny.
well, I called Carrie and I left a message. Now what? I don't know. What do
You're
you
like,
say?
really? Now what?
Yeah. Like, you tell me.
Yeah.
I'm paying people to think.
Yeah.
And that's another thing in delegating and holding people accountable is
Hmm.
I charge people with, you're here because I want to think with you. I don't need a task doer. If I need a task doer, then I'm going to hire a VA firm, and from the Philippines, I'm going to pay somebody $6 an hour to do tasks.
Yeah.
That's different. So there's just and then there's the love of the department or the company, right? And the passion for it. And can you embody the vision and the mission and the values?
I love the examples that you shared there too. And one thing that stuck out to me in your bio was, although you're not planning to retire immediately, all the decisions you make are essentially to get your operations manager to have her take over the company one day.
Yeah. Yeah. Quite likely. I mean, it's my company is currently run by 2 managers. I work
Hmm.
about 10 hours a week. So that is the future for everybody. If you haven't
Yeah.
started delegating, start now because that's where it can lead. And that, I started turning over tasks, processes, and
Yeah.
then whole segments, like turning over the sales process.
Mm.
That was my summer of 2020 pandemic project. That was
Wow.
like a 3-month long project. That's a big thing to turn over. And you talk about
Huge.
control. It's like the last thing you want to turn over is
That
somebody.
itself made me be like, girl.
Yeah. Yeah. But I had a process. So the better the processes you have, the
Sure.
easier it is to
Yeah.
turn something over. Because then I'm turning over a process versus Gina Cotner's personality and charm, which is
Mm.
what most people are trying to grow their company on. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you'll love Haley. Haley's just great. You should work with Haley. Why? Well, I don't know. Haley's great. It's like they're selling you or you, and then they love you. And since they love you, then they hire you. Well, if we
Hmm.
take you out of there, it's like, what? So then you start creating processes that aren't reliant upon your personality, your energy, your charm, whatever.
Yeah.
And I had done that. And then I turned over the sales process. So then on the other side of the house, I've turned over all the vetting and screening of all the team and all the staff. And I did that partially because I was like, if I have to answer the same dang questions from people who want to work for us, I'm going to vomit. So I did come up with like an info sheet, like, hey, these are probably your questions. You should read this. If you still want to talk to us, let us know.
Yeah.
And then again, created a great vetting and screening process that I could actually turn over that didn't require Gina Cotner's brain. And I turned that over to one of the managers. So the managers, I just, over the years, have just turned over all the
Yeah.
divisions and accountabilities, and they now really do run it. So the
Wow.
future is, I don't know, if you ask me next quarter, I'll say something different. I say something different every quarter whenever people are like, okay, what's the succession planning? So some version of it is they keep running the company and we'll see what they want to do with it.
Have you worked with business coaches before?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I was like, how'd you learn how to do all these things?
Oh, man. Again, I just kind of feel like everywhere I've been has led me there.
Yeah.
Probably, I did a ton of personal development work at a place called Landmark, and just a big international personal development company, and I participated with them for probably 30 years, and they were just a place that was an example for me of what it's like to be held to account, to be delegated to, and then held to account and actually counted on.
Hmm.
And so I saw that, and I took a ton of leadership development courses there. So I just really grew as a leader through my 20s and my 30s and studied a lot about the design of human being. And so I think that's part of what runs in the background is like people are big and they can be trusted. So I'm going to have great people around me. I'm going to hire big people, like the bigness of their humanity, and then I'm going to hold them to account for being those big great people that I hired.
Hmm.
And it's partly because I had that experience. I was on the receiving end of that for many, many, many years.
Okay. That makes sense.
And that's how I grew. It was not
Yeah.
always comfortable, but I was like, wait, these people really interacted with me like I was a big person up to big things. And I don't always want to be a big person up to big things every day. I don't.
Yeah.
But I got held to account for that for so long that I was like, well, wait a minute. That
Yeah.
actually really works.
Yeah,
Lo
totally.
and behold, I had leaders rise up around me.
Mm-hmm.
And once you have leaders start to rise up around you, well, then it becomes easier and easier to turn over what I call the heavy lifting.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What are some types of business coaches that you've invested in?
Well, one is my business coach that I don't work with regularly anymore, but I go running to if I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my mind, help,
Yeah.
because he understands the backstory of everything. His name is John Barron. His company is Apollo Coaching and Consulting. And I think I started in the beginning of my company, I utilized him, and his starting kind of place of his curriculum is having you create your vision, your mission, your values, which I knew I'd have to do. And
Yeah.
I knew I'd be pretty good at creating that. But the way he did it was really rich and not just like, oh, it needs to be 2 sentences and it needs
Sure.
to be like, there was no formula. And it's something that's like now in my DNA. Like it's, it is it has a lot of the why we say what we say about what we're doing. And then the other element that I really liked that altered a lot for me was he had a great conversation with me about features versus benefits. Because when you go to sell, people
Yeah.
are always like, here's this cool thing we do, and we do this other cool thing, and we have the
Mm-hmm.
Z8025B, and you definitely want to use that on your next project, and blah, 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 blah. Like all the what they do, but not like what is the benefit.
Yeah.
And so I started shifting to, wait, what is it we actually provide?
Mm.
Not what software do we use, not what's the resumes, but what do you actually get if you hire a high caliber, part-time, virtual executive assistant? So just the way I speak about my company came a lot from there. And then there's just been different as the challenges have gotten harder and harder. I go to other consultants. If I have like understanding my books, my QuickBooks, which I didn't
Yeah.
understand for 5 years and I didn't care. I just was like, money in, money out. Is there money there to pay the bills? Good. Buy something
Yeah.
for 50 cents, sell it for $1. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but then there were people that I started going to like, okay, help me understand what's my owner's draw and how am I paying myself? And I don't understand why I'm doing this and why I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing that. So over the years, now we're to the point where I have an attorney I run to, I have a CPA I run to, I have a kind of a financial education guy I run to, I have a business coach I run to, and a tax preparer.
Okay.
Oh, and an HR consultant. I think
Amazing.
so
Amazing.
you just want to have people you can run to because sometimes you just need 20 minutes of
Yeah.
somebody holding your hand to get you over a
Yeah.
hurdle.
Totally. Yeah. And like you're saying, like this all didn't happen at once, right? It's been
Right.
a journey that you've been on, that entrepreneurial journey of,
Yeah. And I'm a big fan of, deal with those challenges and cross those bridges when you get there.
mm-hmm.
People are so busy trying to get all their ducks in a row and then they're going to open it. Or I got to get the website to look right and then I can do this. No, go figure out how to sell your product. Is your product saleable? Is how you're going to know is it will sell or it won't
Yeah.
sell. But
Yeah.
people spend so much time getting ready and getting it all pretty. And I call them hobbyists. Like,
Mm-hmm.
stop your hobby. Go see if you can sell what you're
Yeah.
passionate about.
You know what's so funny? In podcasting, the number one thing that I hear that stops people from actually starting is their background for video. Is that not so funny? Like that's like it's not the real reason, right? The real reason
Right.
is like the mindset or like imposter syndrome or whatever. But what they say it is like my background isn't good. And I'm like, that's what we're gonna stick with.
That's not fixable. Okay, if
Right. I'm
that's not
like,
fixable, yeah, you definitely don't want to be a business owner. Yeah.
exactly. No, it's very funny, but that's just one of the things. So it's always something, right? Like I just moved into a new apartment. My studio is not set up. I put that on the wall and I was like, here we go. That's all. That's all I
Et
gotta go
voila.
do for the day. So, but yeah, I think it's always interesting to see what type of things hold people back from actually taking the steps that they want or they need to. So it's
Yeah.
really enlightening.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's just something about this can-do attitude. You're not going to know what's going to be the next issue. Unlikely, you are going to know how to solve it. I do not go, oh my gosh, I don't know how to solve this problem. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
No, if we have good enough problems, I am not going to know how to solve them. And then my job as a CEO is to go figure out, well, whose brain do I need to pick about this? Like,
Yep.
who do I need to talk to for 20 minutes to help get me educated? Or,
Mm-hmm.
it's all now about who do I collaborate with? There's probably somebody on my staff who can get me a 15-minute education about the problem we're dealing with. And then I'll know what to do, what to ask, who to go to.
For sure.
But that's part of being a boss, is not that you have all the answers. It's that I'm accountable. This is all going down on my watch. I'm accountable. I'm going to hold myself to account for all of it, but that doesn't mean I have all the answers, but it means sure as shooting, I'm going to go find them.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, Gina, I've loved the way that this conversation went. I think that, it kind of went in the more mindset direction or just like the get it done attitude direction. And I think that's what a lot of people need to hear. So I appreciate you sharing all of your expertise and stories from your journey to get where you are. Is there anything else you want to share before we start wrapping up?
I guess just kind of in the direction we've gone and just in the vibe of the day and the zeitgeist of the times, I would just say, if you think you want to be a boss or you want to run something, I'll tell you what had me actually leave corporate America was a couple sentences in this book, Cash Flow Quadrant. And it basically said, you're going to be disappointed. And I was like, what? Like, I just had all these great dreams. But then I said, you know what? I've been disappointed before in life and I'm here. Like, nobody's died from disappointment. Will there be disappointment at times? Uh-huh. Yep. But you've lived through that before. We can do that. So there just is, I think right now in our times, there's a lot of people have a lot of angst and are trying to solve for it. Like, I need to get in the right mindset. I got to get this angst to go away. I need to feel better about this. And I don't know about all that. I wish for that for people. I want that for everybody. But it doesn't mean don't keep going.
Yeah.
Because when you keep going and you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, even though you don't know what to say, you don't know how you're going to feel about that. This doesn't quite feel right this morning. I feel off, but you just keep taking the actions and you keep moving forward. Stuff will happen. And then you will be like so proud of yourself. Then you're going to feel great. It's like I'm never inspired to do sit-ups or any core work. But when I'm done, I'm like, yes. So I guess my tidbits for people is don't wait to be inspired. Take the mood you've got today with you. It's there. Just take it with you and take the actions you know to take or that you think that there are to take or that your coach told you to take, all while you're feeling weird. Don't try to resolve feeling off so then you can go be great. Just go be great while you're feeling weird.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know who Layla Hermosi is?
I don't. Sounds like I should, though.
She's great. Her and her husband, Alex Hermosi, they own acquisition.com. And her tagline that she just printed on like some sweatshirts and everything is fuck your mood, follow the plan. That's like what she lives by. And that's so similar to the message that you just shared.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yep. Do that.
Do that. Okay, I have one last question for you. This is the way that I start to wrap up every single podcast episode on Employee to Boss. There's so many different resources that we can go download or coaches we can invest in or podcast episodes or, people that we can hire. There's so many different directions we can go. And I find that a lot of people just keep learning and learning and learning and not taking action. So my final question to you is to share 3 action steps for the audience to take based on this conversation that they can achieve this week. What are you going to challenge them with?
Yeah, good. I would start a log of what you might delegate. What are the things that you do every week that are repeatable? Maybe they're fairly easy. You either are not good at it, you don't like to do it, or it would be easy for somebody else to do. Start writing your dream delegation list. Your future delegating might be like having groceries delivered to your house instead of you getting them. That might be it. So start your dream delegation list. Number 2, I would say right off of what you just said, practice doing what you said you'd do, even though you don't feel like it. Whether that's meeting your friend for a glass of wine, going to Pilates, getting up at 8 a.m., walking the dog, like some commitment you have and you don't feel like it, do it anyway. Because I'll tell you, after you're done with it, you're going to feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see. Another good takeaway from today. I think practice saying something to somebody when it's not quite the way you want, right? You gave somebody something. It might be a family member. It might be your neighbor. It might be a friend. If you know something's a little off, like, oh, that's not what I really wanted them to do, practice saying. Just practice. You're not going to be perfect at it. Practice saying, oh, that isn't quite what I wanted. I wanted this.
Mm-hmm.
We're just so easy to just suck it up and be like, all right, I'll just do what they said. No, practice. Because that's going to be your pre-CEO training. When you're a CEO, you're going to be telling everybody all the time, no, hang a left, don't hang a right.
Yeah.
But start now, being like, that's not quite what I wanted. Could we go do X?
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. Those are super actionable. Thank you so much for sharing those. I'm going to put the links to your LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram in the show notes. But is there anywhere else people should connect with you?
No, I think that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, the website.
Perfect.
If you want to get to me directly, you can go right via LinkedIn. I respond and read there pretty quickly.
Very cool. Well, Gina, thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for sharing your story. I love that Julie brought us together. Like, what a cool connection.
Yes, me too.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Employee to Boss podcast. If you made it to the end of this episode, I hope that you implement the actionable steps from this week's experts so you can get started with your business today. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the Employee to Boss podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. It helps more than you could ever imagine. Remember, a little progress each day leads to big results. We come out with a new episode every Tuesday. To access our show notes, transcripts, and courses, please check out espressopodcastproduction.com.